I'm here with Shaun Michael. Shaun Michael, where did your journey start? Why did you get into game and what was life like before that?
Ooh, life like before the game. I suppose we've always been playing the game at some stages of our lives. And the funny thing is, yeah, I joined the British Army at the age of 16 years old. It was like in the early days when the government were doing an experiment with kids who were not like officer material, but they wanted to take kids from poor backgrounds and put you into a leadership regiment. And it was not that I wanted to join the British Army because I was shit at all sports. I was like literally the last person to get picked on anything. But it was either that or work in Topshop, the fashion clothes shop, and earn shit money, or like my father, go down the mines. So the only way to escape back in those days was the British Army. So when you've got a lot of people around you and you go out and you're just quite happy as a young man to occasionally get laid. But if you've got a lot of people around you, you kind of don't notice it because there's a lot of army bravado. And I realized a lot of guys don't have that. They don't have a lot of other men and companionship on their journey. So when I look back, I'm like, was I getting laid when I was younger? A bit, yeah. And when I look back of would it be anything I would like to brag about? Absolutely not. But in those days, it was just greasing the wheels. When you're young, you just don't mind. And so yeah, I had 10 years in the British Army from the age of 16, this experimental junior leader regiment where they train young men to be leaders. And I left at 26, so 10 years I did. And I went from being a very confident guy, and I didn't lose that confidence. And this is an interesting concept when everybody talks about being confident. And confidence isn't always transient. I felt very confident myself as a man. I'd been in the Gulf War, showing my age now. I've been to Bosnia of duty, and I was one of the Army physical training instructors, the elite. So I was always standing up in front of thousands of soldiers in the headquarters, managing these teams. So I had a little bit of an ego and a lot of confidence. And when I left the Army, I managed to luckily be managing a brand new sports center in London and Richmond, in a very affluent area. And it wasn't built yet. So it was not like I was walking into a fitness club with all these beautiful women and I was the new club manager. It was empty because it was part of the launch. So it was quite a lonely place. And I was staying in this shithole of environment, this place, because it's all I could afford, London. And I'm like, oh, wow, my 10-year little, that's all I knew, this institution of the British Army and having lots of men around me. And I mean, yes, you have on the headquarters, we do have women on the army camps, but we used to call them Hippodoca crocker pigs because they were not
Wait,
that
what?
pretty at all. It was just a little nickname for them. But you can imagine the army girls there wasn't a single one out of the 30, but there's 30 of those for like 3,000 male soldiers. So the competition is like amazing, like the way they acted, what we would call the tens these days. And they were far from it. So, yeah, it was just so weird to come out of the army environment and start again in London and realize that I actually had zero social skills. I think even in the army, one of the things I specialized in for a while was after the army was personality profiling and team dynamics training in our fitness clubs. And so I'm not an introvert and I'm not an extrovert. And as we say, like extroverts, they draw their energy from being around other people and it lifts them, they get stimulated. Introverts draw their energy from going away to that quiet place. So I'm kind of in between. And I would say it's not that I'm socially awkward. I'm probably more antisocial. I just feel more comfortable being on my own. I'm here in a beautiful old 200-year-old farm conversion at the moment, hiding away, writing a new book. And I like that. And I'm like the bear comes down from the mountain when I need to eat occasionally, go into town. But that's very rare. And that would be the natural cave instinct for me. So coming to London and realizing, how do you start again? How do you, especially men these days, you get job opportunities and I feel confident of who I am, but there's nobody around me. Who can I share this journey with, And I don't believe it was even one, of course, everybody wants to get laid, but I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking it would be nice to have some companionship. I'm in a brand new city. I don't know anybody. Everybody I know is in the army. I left friends at school who were in the north of England. So I was really starting again. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. And I think nearly a month went by. I thought, if I don't do something about this, I'm actually going to get depressed. So I remember, well, what do you do? And I didn't even know. I mean, we're talking like time gone by now, you know? So yeah, it was tough. It really was tough. And I remember just going for jogs in the park in Richmond Park. And you can only kind of, because I was really fit. I was very good at running. So I thought it's my running game, you know, I'll run by and I'll try and strike a conversation. But when you don't know what you're doing, you literally are running behind women when you very first start. It's creepy. It's uncomfortable. And I felt that they felt that, thought, okay, well, that doesn't work. And then I'd save myself up and dress up nice, shirt and tie when I was going to the fitness club, even though there was nobody in there at the moment because it was still a brand new fitness facility. And I'd just go to the shops and there's women, nice, beautiful women in those shops. And I could say hello occasionally with a bit of confidence, but I didn't know where to take it. And I remember speaking to one of my buddies back in London, and he was married by then. He said, just be yourself, bro. I'm like, yeah, well, being myself isn't working. That's why I need something else. And I think I just kind of settled into it. And yeah, it was a long journey. It was nearly almost like 7 years of me leaving the army before I even found the game. And in that 7 years, it wasn't comfortable. And even when I worked my way up my career, I thought, well, I'll just work on my career. You know, I'll build myself up. I went from one club manager, I became a regional club manager, then a national sales manager with like 50 plus fitness clubs. So I was doing well and I had some money, but it's almost like that they could sense every time Shaun was in the club. And I remember overhearing one of the fitness club managers one day when I was walking around, because there's all these pretty girls around and I was just trying to be sociable. And this fitness club manager in the background, I heard her say, oh, Shaun's on the prowl again. And it really stung me. I'm like, really? Is it that obvious? And so, yeah, I just thought, well, you know, maybe I'll just work on my career. And it's like at the age of 26, I effectively gave up on my life, so to speak. And I worked on my career and I thought, you'll just meet somebody down the road. But I thought that's how it was because I had nobody to tell me otherwise or guide me. I didn't even know about the pickup community then. So it continued like that. And I got quite successful in the fitness club industry. I was kind of like the number one speaker on membership sales and marketing for launching clubs. And I used to speak at the big national, the Fit Pro convention or the Body Life Fitness convention. And I'm like the young guy on stage and I'm inspiring people. And all I really cared about was there was a party in the evening. And I had this one shot once or twice a year when I'm on stage that if I go to the party, I could leverage being the speaker to meet the girls. And I would close something because I was hungry. I was a closer, but nothing special. And it's like hot ones I knew I leaked neediness and I didn't know how to get rid of that. There were just things I would say. And I remember one of my most painful moments is I was speaking at I was invited to speak by a finance company where they used to finance all the fitness clubs. And they had me and all the speakers at the end. And there was like 6 of us lined up and they would ask questions from the audience. And one of the girls, she was hot. I look back and I remember now at least a 9'10", blonde, beautiful, big boobs. And she's like, I'd like to pose this question to Shaun. And I was excited. And to this day, I still don't know what the fuck she asked. I didn't hear it. And it just came blurting out of my mouth. And I was like, yes, I'm single. And I'm like, and I could just feel myself wanting to crawl inside of myself. I was so uncomfortable, embarrassed from that moment on. And I just couldn't wait to be off the stage. And I think I just leaked neediness on such a level. So when people say just be yourself, be confident, that's fine if you are getting the results you want. And I remember when I started studying Jungian psychology, they always talked about this concept called individuation. And it means one of the things Freud and Jung agreed on is individuation. And the concept was one of the purposes of life was to become all that you are not. You're not meant to stay the same, especially on a man's archetypal psychological journey. We're meant to evolve and adapt ourselves for a better job, a better environment, for better survival, or a better partner. So I'd always immersed myself in the personal development, and I realized I just had to find something. But yeah, the first 7 years out of the army, they were lonely. It was depressing times, and I just thought, well, that's the way it is. But also a lot of guys who are introverted, especially I noticed a lot of guys who come into the game and they think they're at a disadvantage because their counterparts, the extroverts, are a bit more sociable. But the sociable guy is just chatting away. He doesn't go anywhere, you know, they don't know how to lead it. And I noticed that even in the army, every Friday night, there was after work, they'd go down the army bar. And I just tried to avoid it so many times because it's just a load of dudes drinking, getting drunk together. And like, it just didn't interest me that much. So I used to spend, like, every time everybody else was going on leave, I'd spend my time going on training courses like Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'd go on a windsurfing instructor course. I was always investing in my personal development. So not because I was intelligent, but I knew how to learn new skills. So I thought, if I can just find people who are good at teaching something to do with how to talk to women, I'll be able to learn it. I'll just mimic what they do, which is what I'd done throughout my entire career in the fitness club industry. You know, I joined an American company, and they had their influences from the old Jordan Belfort program, the old straight line persuasion. This is back in the day when you could literally tear out of a phone book, a sheet of paper, hand them to the telesales girls, and get them girls to phone people up, and people would answer in those days. And they would say, like, hey, you've been specially selected, receive an amazing 2-year membership at our fitness club. Let me tell you about the membership and what it includes. And to be in that program, you had to learn 52 scripts, every single variable that anybody could ever say. And we were like the best company in the world doing the fitness club promotions. So I realized that as long as I could find what to say, you know, I could at least mimic and learn it, find some scripts, learn what to say, but where do you find them? And that wasn't in the day where the internet was kind of, you know, smartphones were still bricks back in my day. So yeah, that's going back some time. So yeah,
No, that's very interesting. I had the same
before the
feeling.
day, it was uncomfortable.
I had the same feeling behind my book when I was figuring out how to communicate through messaging. So I was thinking of it in terms of an invisible maze, but there is a way.
Yeah, but it's trying to find it, and it wasn't a quick journey, mate. It's like, and I can see why some guys, and they say right now, the male suicide rate is higher than it's ever been in history. I can believe that, you know, where women right now, just by a bit of flash of flesh on Instagram, have more choice than they've ever had in history. Go back, 30 years, you know, they'd stand up on the disco, on the tables, on the chairs, on the dance floor, so they could be seen more and get a better choice from that little narrow selection. And then your buddy, he would nudge you and go across and approach her, and you'd get sent across and ask her for a dance, and she'd say, no, fuck off. You'd come back and you go the next, and you do 2 or 3 down the line, and eventually some girl would dance with you, and you've just found your fucking pecking order. But that's going back some time, and life was simple. There was always somebody for somebody. And a woman was happy back in those days that she could find a guy who wants to work hard and eventually would provide and protect. Now, a guy who's the average earner just doesn't even have the impact on what she wants. She can provide and protect for herself to some degree, irrespective of what the evolutionary wiring says. She's consciously aware that, you know, she's looking for more. She wants to upgrade. So the average guy is just working hard. Maybe he's a lawyer, he's a plumber, he's an electrician. Well, she's thinking, well, if I lock down with you, that means we only get 2 weeks holiday a year. That's my life from now on. And women have seen, and they're competing with other women, and the choice, they know, why would they settle for less? So the average guy has got such a tough time, and I thought my time was tough. So yeah, but at least there's more information available and encouragement for these guys to learn. But yeah, my journey was not comfortable to get to the point of eventually learning the game.
Yeah, nice.